Next question comes from Andy Green, and Ms. Edwards will be the first recipient.
In recent years, a number of major corporations have moved their headquarters overseas in order to avoid U.S. corporate income taxes, which are higher than in most other industrialized nations. In other cases, corporations have stashed billions of dollars in profits overseas, also to avoid corporate taxes. What should be done about this? Should we lower our corporate income tax rate?
What we should do, thanks for the question, but what we should do, and of course I've joined with our Democratic colleagues in the Congress in saying that what we need to do is to enforce both enforce our laws, but also say, you know, corporations, you're going to be taxed on on your assets here. If your company is located here, then you're going to be taxed here in the United States. And I know that Mr. Van Hollen has worked very dutifully on these inversion issues. I fully support that work, as do all of our Democrats, or most all of our Democrats in the House of Representatives. And I think that we also have to incentivize corporations to bring their business back to the United States. It's the reason that I've introduced a research and development tax credit that's tied to domestic manufacturing, so that we begin to bring those corporate headquarters and those businesses that have located internationally back to the United States, so that they can be fully taxed under our tax code.
Thank you. Mr. Van Hollen.
Well, thank you. I have been leading the fight on this issue. Called inversions. The simple story is these are companies that are based in the United States that just changed their mailing address and get a bunch of lawyers to end up escaping their responsibility to American taxpayers. And when they pay less, it means all the rest of us pay a lot more. So we need to pass the legislation that I've introduced. I've been working with the President. The President has been taking what steps he can through executive order, but we need to finish the job. And this is just one example of the broken tax code I was talking about earlier. Because right now we have a tax code that actually encourages American corporations to move their jobs overseas. It's not enough to enforce the law. These companies are using loopholes in the law, which is why we've got to change it, and we've got to make sure that we take away that incentive. I put forward a proposal on that front, too, to take the monies that are essentially being parked overseas to escape taxes here and invest them in places like Baltimore and Maryland to create those incentives so those businesses and manufacturers move right back here. I've also proposed legislation called the CEO Employee Paycheck Fairness Act. It's outrageous that corporations can take tax deductions for CEO and executive bonuses when they're cutting their employees' pay. So I put forward a proposal to say, you can't do that. You've got to be increasing the pay and benefits of your employees. If the CEOs are getting bonuses, your employees need to be getting a raise as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Hollen. Any rebuttal, Ms. Edwards?
I will only say, look, I applaud the Congressman for his efforts on behalf of all of us as Democrats on these issues. He's been leading that fight. We've all joined him. And so we hope that we one day can have a Congress and a president who's going to sign that into law. I want to go back to where Maryland's future is, because I do believe our future is in the research and technology sector. We have great assets here in our state, and I think it's time for us to talk aspirationally and do the hard work of bringing manufacturing jobs, advanced manufacturing jobs, back to the United States by incentivizing that research and development and tying it to domestic manufacturing the way it was for the better part of the 20th century until we got away from that. And so when we do that, we will create jobs here in Baltimore, throughout Maryland, and all across our country.
Thank you very much.